is Katell. So I'm part of the Silicon Valley chapter, but today I have the pleasure of interviewing Karen Tkaczyk, who is the Colorado chapter manager as part of our Ask the Chapter video series. So I'm going to have a conversation and talk to her about this, but we're going to get started with you, Karen. Hi, and as a first question, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself, what your journey in localization has been, and then tell us a little bit what drove you to women in localization.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. Delighted to be part of this series. My journey. Well, I always loved languages, and I have a bilingual marriage, right? So that's often a start for how we got into this journey, right? My spouse's native language is not the same as mine. I'm a chemist. I'm a trained chemist. I started.
Interesting.
So I did study French. In the US sense, it would be like I have a minor in French from college, but I was a chemist. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. Then immigrated to the States, and it was after the immigration, after having children, that I became a freelance translator. So I was a subject matter expert. While I was freelancing, thriving as a freelance translator, I was at home on my own, and I'm an extrovert. So I started to volunteer to have fun with people, to be part of teams. So I started with local associations and then the American Translators Association. So I was heavily involved there and on the board there. So I have experience with it. I had experience with a different language-related association volunteering. Fast forward to pandemic 2021, like many, I had a sort of, what am I going to do with that when I grow up kind of moment. Anyway, I decided that I would look for work within, look at being employed within localization, still using the life sciences. And at that time, and I did that, I made that shift in 2021. I went into key account management and sales for an LSP. 2023, I moved into a different LSP. So that's what I'm doing. I'm in biz dev fundamentally for LSPs, life science focus. And I connected with the Women in Loc Colorado group at that time when I was beginning to look for jobs and trying to meet people from all different sides of Loc, buyers, providers. I knew a lot of linguists. I knew a lot of LSPs. I didn't know so much the provider side. So that was kind of how I discovered Women in Loc. And I already knew I was coming off the ATA board. I had been on the board for several years. Nice. And I thought, well, let's do a different volunteer role. And, so that was how I got involved with Women in Loc. So I've been involved since about 2021.
Tell me a little bit about the chapter, what you guys doing up there.
Okay. So I got involved 2021, spring 2021. So we had, so I was just part of the leadership team at that time. We had a good mix of buyers and providers on the team. Nice mix of people, quite a good mix of ages as well. A diverse age spread. We weren't all in our 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever. We had quite a nice mix. So, I mean, like all the chapters, we're support. It's very easy to align with the mission, right? We're trying to build global community, right? Yeah. It's about community. We're wanting to build relationships, make friends with each other, have someone to talk to about our work, and really fundamentally, that's what we're about. If we do some educational pieces along the way, that's great. We love a good educational once in a while, but fundamentally it's about the community and the relationships, because we all, we mentor each other, we learn from each other, we might work with each other in our next job, right? So fun. That's really the impetus behind, I would say, what we've got going on. It's that feeling of making friends with other women who understand, and men who sometimes join us.
Great, that's really good. Yeah,
does occasionally happen. We usually have one or two at our events.
And it's good to hear that there is a good mix of a buyer and vendor, if you want, because I know there's a big localization community generally in Colorado, and I know there's some big vendors, but it's good that there's a mix of experiences there. That's great.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of companies that have substantial in-house teams.
Yes.
Who show up, and then there's other people. They're the lone one. They're the one localization person. Certainly the only one in Colorado. Sometimes the only one in the company. You know, so we do have. Yeah, we've got. I think I've always felt like we had a pretty good mix. Yeah, so that's nice. Great. And a big mix, like some life sciences, some tech, some different kinds of companies as well. It's not all. It's not all a single vertical.
Yeah, nice.
So what do? We hold events. We typically hold events in person, just social mixers. That's what we do most often. It's absolutely just let's all connect, pay as you go, relax for a few hours and connect.
Okay.
But we intersperse those with, well, firstly with some online events once in a while, something that usually will have some sort of educational feature. In fact, the most recent one we did was a panel on negotiating localization contracts. So once in a while we do something that's going to that we're all going to learn from, and we do a mix of somebody from Colorado and maybe some people from outside. So the last one we did was, we called it a lunch and learn, and we did it at lunchtime, our time, and had a great conversation. And then that's recorded, and that can be seen by everyone in Women in Localization after the fact. So we try to contribute to the body of knowledge, if you like, as well. But most of what we do is the socializing. The first one for 2024 will be, we have a guest speaker coming who runs an LSP, but her focus is language access. So we're going to have a speaker talking to us about the language access side of translation and localization, right? Of our world, right? Rather than helping US companies go global or anyone go global, more helping people in the courts and the healthcare systems and the other parts of the language access side.
Got it.
So that's kind of thing where some of us have worked for companies where language access is a big focus. Others in the localization community are completely clueless, right? It's something they know nothing about. Yeah. So she's somebody who's in our community and who's delighted to talk to us. So that's an example where we're going to do that locally because she's in Denver. So we'll mix and mingle, but we'll have a sort of dinner speaker type situation. So that's the kind of things we do. We do at least 4 events a year. Sometimes it's 5 or 6 by the time we throw in an extra mixer, or we do a combined one with the local lunch people, or some other, and tag on to something else or something like that. But that's the kind of things we do. Now I'm chapter manager, so that happened because babies and a layoff, unfortunately, but that affected our team. So I'm an empty nester, right? I have kids, but they're all adults. Some of the other ladies in the team were not at that stage of their life, and at the end of 2022, 2 of them said, "Hey, I'm expecting, I need a break." Yeah. So I stepped up and said I'd be happy to be the manager for this year next, and then I will mentor someone along the way and hand it off at the end of next year. But that's why I'm the manager. It's because there are phases for everything, and there are times when we can volunteer, and there are times when volunteering is tougher and shouldn't be a priority. So that's why we need a good team of people who can, when that kind of thing, that's great news, right? Sometimes it's much sadder news than I'm having a baby. That means someone needs to take a break. But that's why I'm the manager, because we had 2 babies in short succession, which was fabulous.
It's good news. It's good news.
It is good news.
And how has this been for you to be the chapter manager? Have you, you've had experience, and have you found it challenging in terms of getting stuff off the ground? Do you have a good team around you who is leading and driving initiatives? So
we have 4 strong members who are all doing something. So it's not too hard. So the burden is
Yeah.
shared. So for instance, I never have to find a venue for one of these mixers that we do. That's
Very
just
nice.
someone else does that. But I handled I arranged, organized, conceived of the online webinar that we did on local.
Yep.
Right. So we alternate. Someone else does most of the social media posts, right? I can't do Canva. That's not my skill set, right? It's like, just don't. It's not going to look good. I mean, I can grow and learn, but there's some areas where, let me proofread the copy, please, but don't ask me to design it. Okay. So the answer is, we've got 4 strong people. We've got positions open on the Women in Low website. In fact, we've just had a nibble from someone asking to join. So we can round it out. It would be great to get a new student intern, right? They've added the student intern roles, and we look for. We just approached a local university because I know one of the professors, and said, hey, would anyone, so it would be great to have more, to be mentoring and all that. But the load has really been fine, because there are 4 of us who all know what we're doing and are capable, and all do what we agree to do, so that things just happen and it's not too much of a burden for anyone.
For one person. I mean, it makes such a difference when you have a group of people who are really engaged. And sometimes, it allows one person to like take a step back, or,
That's right.
So, and things
Someone
to keep moving.
I need to look after my sick mother for a month, just handle it, please, right? We could all do that, right? We could the others would take the lead if I needed to do that, and vice versa. It's the only way to make it sustainable, because volunteering, I mean, volunteering is fabulous. We get out as much as we put in, I find, but it can quickly become a burden if you don't have that energy and teamwork and trust between, a few people at least, right?
Absolutely. Anything in particular that you're especially proud of, since you started engaging with the chapter, but also since you started managing the chapter, like any particular initiative or events or anything?
I'm proud of the fact that we have a good team of 4 strong people doing it. That's because that was 2 of them were not on the leadership team when I became manager. Basically, there was 2 of us left. So we found 2 more, and it's like I said, there's no burden. It's a strong, cohesive team functioning well. So I'm proud of that.
Feel free to mention them by name if you want.
Yes. Well, Natalia Casey. Natalia Casey's been on the leadership team with me forever. Now, she has 4 kids at home. So when that gap appeared, when our lovely friends departed with babies, it's like, okay, I can't ask the one who's still got 4 kids at home to do this. I have to do this.
That's a lot already.
My 3 kids are out. But so I can, anyway, Natalia Casey, Tanya Bredel, and Laurence Carter. So the 4 of us are the leadership team in the moment. And one Tanya does amazing sort of icebreaker things and gets us all set up. Natalia does all the Eventbrite and does the social media. Laurence finds the venues, which for me, that's the worst task. So thank you, Laurence. Really, really, thank you. Really, thank you.
Thank you, Laurence.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's us.
Very nice. Well, thank you for the shout out to these ladies. So what's exciting for you, and what's on the roadmap for 2024?
Yep. So I'm excited to grow the team, add a student intern, volunteer, fill the other couple of roles. And I'm excited, as one of the older ladies in the group, to mentor those, to mentor the younger ones, and mentor bring someone up to replace me, right? I'm a big believer in a volunteer situation that you want to guide, and rising tide lifts all boats, that kind of thing, right? So that's I'm excited to grow that. We've got a good set of ideas of things to do this year. We already have lots of ideas. It's just a question of deciding when we'll do them. There's no lack of energy. So that's a win in itself. Sometimes it's like, oh, what are we going to do next? We're not in that phase of we're not in that phase of being a chapter. We're in the phase where it's like, okay, well, let's do that one next and hold off that one for the one after. We've got 3 or 4 ideas lined up, and it's a question of just a question of making them happen. One thing that's on my mind is to hold things in a wider variety of locations, right? We can do the north side of Denver, close to Boulder, and we'll get a bunch of local people. But we haven't held one in Colorado Springs. You know, we could do something in Golden. You know, we have a big state, and so I quite like. I thought about copying an idea. So I saw from another association group, like Battle of the Brunchies or something. You hold two simultaneously 50 miles apart so that nobody has to drive 50 miles across a metro area. Like if you say you do one in San Francisco and you do one in Santa Clara for your example, right? Don't make everyone travel back, you know, so I would quite like to do that and get the south side people and the north side people, or just a big, you know, make it easier for people who don't want to drive or get in the train or whatever. So I'm excited to try to, and that will grow the membership, because there's some people who don't come because, and we try and move it around, it's too far. Right? But you know, driving's a problem. Time is valuable, and some people, if it's close to home, they're more likely to show up than if they have to drive across town to get there. So I'd like to grow by help us grow by making it a little bit more geographically, you know, appealing for a wider group of people.
Yeah, it certainly becomes more inclusive when you're thinking about this kind of stuff, and also, of course, the online events help with you know,
that's right,
with grabbing people attention. But I like the idea of trying to really expand geographically and not just focus on one area, because that can be, in a big state like that can be pretty tricky. And I'm going to say, especially for women, who a lot of them may have like a lot of responsibilities around the family and picking up kids and all this kind of stuff, like the evening events can be really a challenge if it's far away.
Yes, that's another one that we thought doing a lunchtime event is on the list of possibilities as well, because some people really struggle to get out of the office during the day. Other people can't do a happy hour, right? It's just it's so we should mix it up. It's a long time since we've done an in-person lunchtime event, so that would be another one to try to see if we got a different set of people.
Yeah, that's great. Great to hear. So do you have any regular communication with other chapters? Do you exchange ideas? Do you collaborate with them? What does that look like at your end?
So in the past, we've done a couple when we were, our online events prior to the one I've already mentioned. We did a social mixer with the Utah chapter. And we did an educational panel discussion with the Argentinian chapter. So we've done, I would say we've kind of done sort of one a year with somebody who's vaguely in our time zone, right? It's helpful when they're vaguely in, you know, plus or minus a few hours, right? So we have done a couple. We've done a couple. And then the other thing that we've done was we held an in-person mixer that was outside Colorado. It was at a conference in Minnesota. The American Translators Association conference was in Minneapolis a couple of years ago, and Anna Schlegel was one of the speakers, so she was going to be present. So I said, "Is there a chapter close?" It turned out Colorado. I think we were actually the closest chapter.
You were the closest.
But I was going to AT. I'm like, "Can Colorado just host a thing while we're all in Minneapolis?" So we did. So that kind of thing brought in a couple of locals from the Twin Cities who have never had an in-person one, because we don't have a women in law chapter in the Twin Cities, right? So things like that were really fun, you know, where you can just inclusive is the word, right? You can include people who weren't normally there. It was an opportunity for everyone, anyone who wanted to meet Anna, to meet her, right? A lot of people that don't know Anna, you know, would know the name, but wouldn't have had the opportunity to spend time with her. So that's another kind of just sort of creative thing. Oh, you know what? Why don't we just do this? It doesn't matter that it's not in Colorado. So that was another fun thing we did.
It's a great idea. I think conferences are a good place to do this. And, they are the big conferences that, I think about around Loc World and stuff like this, but the ATA, I think, is a great opportunity because I think it moves around a lot more as well, which is nice. Yeah.
It moves every year. It moves northeast, southwest, and central in the US. It's a much higher number of attendees. There's usually around 1,400 people. And a lot of the boutique LSP owners are there. The smaller LSP, a lot, and then a lot of linguists, and a lot of buyer side. The buyer side at ATA tends to be institutions. Some of the big institutions you might find in DC, or certainly government, but I'm thinking of things like World Bank, things like that, or they're big buyers. Also hospital, public sector, government, education systems. So there's plenty of people who there as well. It's just a different side. It's a different segment of our world. So.
It is, absolutely. Well, great to hear about that. I think, is there anything else, Karen, you would like to tell the community, about your chapter, about what you guys are doing, or generally like to close this conversation?
Well, I would say think about volunteering, because it's a joy to work in a team of like-minded people. The burden is not high. This is not some intense volunteer load where you have to be thinking about it every day. This is not that. This is light volunteering where you're going to learn and grow and have fun. And what's not to like about that? I mean, the women in Loc community is so strong. So I would encourage anyone who hasn't considered volunteering to think about that and think about joining us.
I would second that. Very, very well said. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen, for your time. We really appreciate talking to you, learning more about the chapter. And I hope that people in the community will also look you up, attend some of the online events, even if they're not local.